Hey guys, it's week 4. Got a fresh do? Let's do it. Last week's game of the week, Dan H was able to beat Dan D, now to be known as Loser Dan, 94-67. Loser Dan was once again let down by Peyton Manning and also had a huge drop in production from Joseph Randall. Your high score this week was Al, who I had the pleasure of playing this week, who scored 140 points. Alright. 27 of those points came from his kicker Carlos Santos, who kicks for the Kansas City Chiefs. Your low score this week was Kevin, only scoring 48 points. And just in case you're wondering, no, that's not the lowest ever. The lowest ever is actually from 2011. Herb only managed to score 30 points. Kevin did come pretty close though. No one on Kevin's team other than his quarterback scored in the double digits. If you add up all of his players other than his quarterback, they only totaled 29 points. That means Al's kicker alone almost outscored his entire team. That's embarrassing. To Kevin's credit, it was his first loss of the season, and if you're gonna do something, do it big. This week's questionable call goes to Gallagher, who decided to start CJ2K over both Todd Gurley and the red-hot Devonta Freeman. That was a mistake. The end of week 4 means we're at the quarter pole for the season. It's time to evaluate how your team's doing. If you're not doing great, you're probably going to need to make some moves if you plan on making the playoffs this year. Looking at the standings, Eric's team managed to stay undefeated while Baus's team is still looking for his first win. Come on, Baus! And now it's time for the game of the week. Once again, Dan finds himself in the game of the week. This week he takes on the light division's leader and undefeated team, Eric. Both teams are winning their divisions and Eric's team is undefeated, but he has to start Michael Vick this week. Dan's team is full force. I'm going to predict this is Eric's first loss of the year. Time for the Fantasy Highlight Wheel, Quarter Pole Edition. In the Quarter Pole Edition, I want to take a look at the top 5 players at their positions. The top 5 quarterbacks so far this year is Aaron Rodgers, scoring 129 points. Andy Dalton, scoring 120 points. Carson Palmer, the ageless wonder, scoring 116 points. New to the scene, Tyrod Taylor, better known as T-Mobile, putting up 111 points for fantasy owners. And rounding out your top 5, Cam Newton with 110 points. If we compare that to how the season ended last year and took a look at the top 5 quarterbacks, it's quite a different picture. Only one of them, Aaron Rodgers, remains in the top 5. Last year you had Andrew Luck, who's off to a terrible start. Aaron Rodgers. Peyton Manning, also off to a shaky start. Drew Brees, who is hurt for a game. And Big Ben, who's hurt for quite a while this year. The top 5 running backs this year, Devonta Freeman with 97 points, out to a hot start. Jamal Charles putting up a respectable 80 points already this year. Adrian Peterson, who at times looks like he's playing with children, putting up 70 points. Matt Forte putting up 61. And Mark Ingram rounding out the top 5 with 59 points. If we compare that to last year, again, we only have one person who repeats in the top 5. The top 5 last year were DeMarco Murray, Le'Veon Bell, Marshawn Lynch, Matt Forte, who repeated, and Arian Foster rounded out the top 5 at the end of the year last year. And last but not least, let's take a look at the wide receivers. At the top of the list, you have Julio Jones with 91 points. Larry Fitzgerald, who literally came back from the dead with 89 points. Last year at the same time, he had 11 points. Antonio Brown, who took a major hit with Big Ben going down, still has a respectable 81 points. DeAndre Hopkins, who many expected to have a big year, already with 77. And AJ Green rounds out your top 5 receivers with 76 points. If we compare that to last year, we have a couple people who repeat. We have Antonio Brown, Demaryius Thomas, Jordy Nelson, obviously out for the year, Dez Bryant, another major injury, and Julio Jones rounded out the top 5 last year. And that's going to do it for this week's wrap-up. I'll see you guys next week.